What's up, fine folks? Welcome to episode 36 of Double Tapped. I'm Jay.
I'm Tanner.
I deliberately concealed today's beverages from Tanner.
I'm getting poisoned.
Just as a preface,
okay,
I've got 2 business degrees, but I am a victim of marketing strategy.
Oh yeah, of course. We all are.
It's hot.
Yeah.
We're in the midst of a legitimate heat wave.
Yeah.
So when I see something like this in the midst of summer, I gotta buy it. So this is Loverboy Sparkling Hard Tea.
Whoa. Okay.
It's still a brew, you know.
Interesting.
Love
all
a
right.
good brew.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is the most summery looking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Like the can.
It sounds very refreshing.
It's called Lemon Boy.
I love a slim
Boy.
can.
Sorry, not Lemon Boy. I do like a slim can. Oh man, there's no fun descriptor.
No blurb.
It does say kissed with ginger though.
Unless
so
there's a blurb on the box.
Oh, there might be. There might be a box blurb. A blocks. A blurb. On the back maybe?
Here we are playing Rubik's Cube with
Yeah,
this box. I don't see any blurb.
Yeah, I don't either.
Beyond the simple slogan, good times, no regrets.
A wonderful thing to have on your alcohol product.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. You drew that out really long.
I just cut my nails, so it's hard to get. Oh, sorry, it's hard to get grip. Okay.
Oh.
Ooh, they're way more gingery than I expected.
Yeah, they are. You're right. I knew it wouldn't be sweet because it's akin to a seltzer. There's like no sugar. It's only 90 calories.
It's good.
But for summery, when I'm looking for something very light, this would be very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty refreshing.
And I really like tea.
I do too, man.
So, well, Tanner, what you been playing recently? And I know what you've been playing. One thing, because you told me.
That's the only thing. I've been playing Elden Ring. So I sent Jay a text last night. The only thing he knows is that I said I've turned a corner on it. So I think I was overestimating hours slightly the last time we talked. I think I was closer to like 25 hours then, because now I'm at 42 hours. I checked at the last save.
Interesting.
So I have been streaming a lot more regularly since we got back, and have really just gotten into this game in another level.
Yeah.
So I think my complaints or my critiques or whatever last time, I think were valid. But as I said when I was critiquing it, I was like, I am open to the possibility that this will change. Because if you haven't caught the last few episodes, like my struggle with Elden Ring was that the bosses were duplicates a lot, that I kept running into the same kind of bosses, and that I sort of had a lack of direction. So a lot of those problems have been solved. So the first one was solved, the lack of different boss fights. Are you still jamming to the Pantera song?
No, well, maybe a little bit.
I see it kind of like bopping out the side of my head, side of my view. But so I completely lost my train of thought.
Boss variety.
Yes, boss variety has improved a lot, which I knew it would. I was just getting really unlucky, I think, with where I was deciding to explore. Yeah. Like people told me that have played the game and are like there to help me out if I need it, have said that I maybe saw more duplicates than most people ever have that early on in the game. Like I said that I saw maybe 20 bosses and 15 of them were duplicates, or 2 or 3 of the same. So I will try to talk not spoilery, but in a way that you will know what's going on.
Sure.
So I have done so I basically asked, where should I go? I finally just like put my pride aside and I asked chat, where should I go? And people directed me to the city. Right?
Sure.
So I went there, tried to fight the tree guardian guy, who is very hard and can one-shot you.
Yes, he can.
So I backed off of him for a little bit because I felt underleveled to really fight him. And then I went to Volcano Manor.
Oh.
So I did all of Volcano. So since we've last spoken, I've done all of Volcano Manor.
Including the boss of
Volcano
Manor?
I've done all of the city. I have done Margot.
Yeah.
And now I've done the twin battle that's on like the bridge there where it goes dark. And you fight the two twins.
Oh, yeah. Going towards the, like, royal or whatever, the divine tower.
That was the last boss I did. And now I'm in, like, I forget what they're called. Like, the Forbidden Land or...
Forbidden Lands.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. So, I've done a lot. I've made a lot of progress, I feel like.
So, wait. Let me just... You have not... This is a very explicit question.
Yeah.
You have not gone past the Forbidden Lands in any regard.
I don't think so.
I feel like you would know what I'm talking about, so that tells me that you haven't.
Okay, is that the area that's like you're in the clouds? Because I am in the clouds now.
Like it's very foggy.
Well, yeah, that's the Forbidden Lands. But I feel like there's an area where you take an elevator up, and then you look out, and there's clouds everywhere.
Is it snowy?
I think so, yeah.
The mountaintops?
Yes, I think I ended there last night.
So you sort of entered the next
Yes,
area.
I think I got to that. I literally got to that, like, touch point.
Sure.
Or site of grace or whatever they call it, and stopped.
That's a good...
I think that's where I stopped.
That's kind of my MO, too, is like, I've reached a new place, stop. When I come back, there's not a lot of pressure, and I can just explore.
Right, exactly. So I guess I can talk a little bit about the bosses.
We're several months removed from the release now, so
sure. And I think with Souls games, knowing the name of a boss doesn't do a thing.
Tells you nothing.
I heard Rom the Vacuous Spider like 15 times before I played Bloodborne. Still was not prepared
if you've
for
never
Rom the
played
Vacuous
Bloodborne
Spider.
and you hear that name, whatever you're picturing that boss looks like, it doesn't.
It's wrong. Just the word vacuous is so funny there. Anyway, so yeah, a little bit of a boss diatribe, I guess. I had done the. Oh, I also went to the area that's like Midsummer.
Oh yeah, the village.
Yes, with like all the ladies with flower crowns. So I killed that Pope Apostle guy. The guy's
just dancing. The Godskin Apostle.
Yes. Yeah. Not Pope Apostle. Godskin Apostle. Which is the easier version of a boss that I had gotten to, but was underleveled for in that big tower thing. There's a tower that you can like platform down. And then at the bottom, there's another Godskin Apostle.
Okay.
There were people who said that they didn't see it and had finished the game, so it's totally optional area.
I might not have seen it.
But that is a harder version of the same boss. But I had tried to like stubborn my way through it, but I just didn't have enough health, so I knew the other Godskins fight style, so that was pretty easy. So then when I went to Volcano Manor, there's the Godskin Disciple. Noble. I knew it was another religious term. Who is basically the fat version of that guy. With
fat but not slower.
No, he's so much faster. I think he's way faster. And the first time he did the attack where he like balloons up and rolls at you, I was like dying laughing. It's so funny. So I did that fight. Fight took the average Souls length, like 10-12 deaths probably. And then got to Ricard, thank you, because there's somebody called Radon and Ricard, and I keep crossing those. I haven't seen Radon yet. But yeah, got to Ricard, which is this giant snake thing with a face on it. Yeah. And it has a boss weapon.
This was so way back when we originally talked about the game.
Yeah.
I told you that there were no real gimmicky bosses that I had encountered so far.
Yeah.
Ricard is like the closest one.
But I like this fight because it's not just you find the weapon and you insta-kill him.
Sure.
It's just this is the weapon you need to fight him, but it's still going to be hard.
And it like is so you don't have to level the weapon up.
Right. You just get it and you're good.
Yeah, it's pretty effective from the moment you pick it up.
Yeah, the reason I don't like the Yorm fight is, A, I had never experienced a gimmick fight before, so I didn't know those were possible, and it really broke my brain that that was a thing. And B, once you find the weapon, if you could kill him without the weapon, but it'd take forever. Once you find the weapon, it makes the fight just like non-existent, and that sucked. With this, or even I feel like the Demon Souls one that was like all the
Storm
mantises.
King.
Yeah, that one was probably somewhere in the middle, but it was still pretty easy. This one's hard with the weapon.
It is. It's a really solid fight.
With the amount of health I had. I feel like I've been slightly underleveled everywhere I've been, but that's fine. So yeah, did that fight, took a while, but finished that, then went to the city, finally killed the tree guy. Which, it's funny they're called tree guardians when they're just knights on horses.
Yeah.
But
there is a lot of lore to that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I mean, they're guarding the Erd trees, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, then did the city, which the city feels like the sort of... I feel like most open world games have one big location.
Yeah.
And the city definitely feels like that. That place is dense as hell.
It really is.
It took me like 2 hours just to get through the area. Like, not get to a boss, just exploring it, trying to get to the next spot. Spot or part. But I say all this to talk about Margot. Am I saying that right? Is it Margot? Is that how you say it?
Morgoth.
Morgoth. Okay, yeah. I'm really bad
The
about
Omen
tracking names. Yeah. Well, so there was a running joke because there's a cutscene when you first get to him. Oh yeah, I fought like Ghost Godfrey too, but I don't think that's real Godfrey. So you get to him and he pulls out this sword, and the sword looks like an oil slick, like it's very like rainbow luminescent. but I just said it was like a gamer sword. Like he had RGB on his sword, and so we keep calling him like the gamer boss.
I have some TikTok that I'll have to show you about that boss fight that I've been holding back from showing you.
Okay, cool. It's probably my favorite fight so far.
It's really good.
It's so hard. There's so many attacks he does. Like most Souls bosses, and I guess we're just going long about Elden Ring. It's fine.
It's a long game.
Most Souls bosses roughly have like 7 to 9 attacks that you have to learn.
Sure.
Somewhere in that range. I feel like he has 20. He has so many different attacks because he's kind of a hybrid of all the bosses you've seen up until that point. Like he has the hammer, he has a big sword, he has range, he can rain down swords, which is wild.
Like environmental stuff.
Yeah, he has whatever that like goo fire stuff is. But I finally beat him. It took me probably like 60, 70 deaths. It took me a while. But again, I was probably a little underleveled. But that's my favorite thing in these games is to just do a fight so often that you learn it like the back of your hand. Like I love that. It was not like unenjoyable at all. It probably only took in reality like 2 hours.
Sure.
So it's just going in. And that might have been a slight overestimate, but I now have his sword.
Oh.
And I use his sword.
Cool.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
It was one of those things too where I've picked up, so you can level your weapon with these items called smithing stones. For certain weapons, they're called somber smithing stones. I don't know really the difference, but
it's like legendary or boss weapons.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's just a different category of smithing stones. And I knew I had like somber smithing stones, a bunch of them, but I never had a somber smithing stone 1 to get it started. So I had to go find a 1, and I found the isn't it E.G. is his name? The big blacksmith guy?
Yep.
So I had someone guide me to him because they said he had one to buy. And so I bought the first one and then leveled it 7 times.
Yep.
It was just like bing, 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 bing. And now it's +7 and it shreds. I am just now, I put it last night as like, this is the first time I feel like I've been on the offense of this entire game. Where I'm definitely now over leveled for certain areas. I probably not for the mountaintops, but going back and exploring like more of Liurnia or like something like that, I'm definitely more powerful than I've been by quite a leap. So yeah, really loving it. Loving the boss variety. The fights have been awesome. The new areas have been great. I'm all the way in.
I'm gonna throw out some again. So talking about how names don't really spoil things.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask you if you've been to these places.
Okay.
Have you been to the Shaded Castle?
Nope.
Have you been to Caria Manor?
Yes.
That's in Liurnia.
That's the place where the doll is with the 4 hands, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Ronnie, yes.
Yeah, that's sort of her
and then
outpost.
You basically, all I've done there, I literally got there last night after I found the blacksmith, is that she's basically like, do you want to join me? You say yes, and then she's like, okay, go talk to my council. You talk to them, and now I have a quest for her.
Yeah. Did you encounter the most horrifying enemy in all of video games at Caria Manor?
The hand?
The hand.
Yeah.
The hands are fucking horrific.
They're terrible. They're these crawling, disembodied hands with about 20 fingers. And they just like
they crawl at you like a spider.
It reminds me of like the little bots that Sid would make in Toy Story. It's got that sort of like just creepy.
What's the movie where there's just a hand crawling around? It's like an old like 90s
there's like
bad horror movie or something, or like B movie.
There's one that's called. There's a poster for a movie called Diabolique that has a hand, but I think there's a hand in like the Addams Family, right? Or
you might be.
The Munsters.
I think you're right about that.
It's one of those.
I think it's a movie though that. Who's the guy? Oh, I'm blanking on his name. He was like a big teeny bop actor in like the 90s. Shit. I don't remember his name.
Rob Lowe.
No. He's blonde. It'll come to me eventually.
Corey Feldman.
No,
Corey Haim.
You're closer with that one, but I'd know it if I heard it. He's friends with Greg Miller.
James Vanderbeek?
No.
Oh. Who else is Greg friends with?
And I think it's a Halloween movie that I'm referring to.
Halloween the franchise?
No, like a Halloween set.
Oh. I'm gonna look it up.
Mm-hmm. Idle Hands. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I think that's a thing. I think that's the movie. Idle Hands.
Idle Hands movie. There's a movie in 1999 called Idle Hands, yes.
Who's the star of it?
Devon Sawa.
Devon Sawa. That's right. Who I'm thinking of. I'm pretty sure
What the hell?
this movie has a disembodied hand.
Seth Green is in it. What in the world? Oh yeah, the poster is just a big hand.
I think that's it.
There's a kid holding his own head.
Well,
Never heard of this movie in my life.
I'm not going to go out here and recommend Idle Hands. I've never seen it, but I feel like I've seen that clip.
Do you want to know the tagline?
Of course I do.
It's a 90s movie, so it had to have a tagline. The comedy that gives horror films the backhand.
What?
What does that mean?
That's terrible.
That's a terrible tagline.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, Elden Ring's fantastic. I've completely turned the corner on it, which is great.
And you've still got plenty of hours to pour in.
Yes.
Even as far as you go back to places and find new locations.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, one more question. Well, have you been to any of the rivers?
Are those the underground areas?
Yes.
Yes, I've been to one of them.
Okay.
But I got to it probably like 10 hours in and got wrecked, and I was like, can't be here.
That's exactly
and I left.
what happened to me. Was it Siafra?
I don't know. I have terrible memory with the names.
I just went down some random elevator early in the game.
Yep, same here.
In the middle of the woods, close to a big bear.
Sounds right. I've been to the bear area.
Yeah.
The bear area.
I go down there and I was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and there's like a separate map, and you're like, what
go
the
for a
hell?
little while, and I'm like, nope.
Yep.
Turn back around.
Yeah, that's what I think. I ran all the way through it.
I tried to do that. I
And
think
then
I
I
got
got
to a
wrecked.
bonfire and then tried to go a little further and started getting wrecked, and I was like, never mind.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
I've just been playing everybody's golf.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, it's on the Plus, right? It's on the new Plus.
It is. I had it already. I highly recommend it. I think I recommended it our last proper episode.
Yeah.
It's just fun, man. It's summer. It's golf season. You know. I don't know. I've got so many of these games on my dashboard staring at me.
Yeah.
And you know what? I am the master of this PlayStation. I want to play everybody's golf. So that's what I've been doing. It's very fun. And I downloaded it again and didn't re-upload my save. So I've been playing it from scratch because my old
Scratch
characters...
golf?
There you go.
That's a golf joke
That
for
is.
everybody.
My old character's name was Eagle Ass.
I remember that. That's right.
Then I just started a J character. Right now
Was
I've got
with you when you named that
I
character?
was playing it in our old apartment when we lived together.
Because I remember us coming up with Eagle Ass. Don't know why.
And similar to looks a lot like Eagle Ass used to look.
Yeah.
Which is a lot like me.
Right.
But with a more emphasized mustache. And it's just like 5 o'clock shadow plus mustache and sunglasses. That was the Eagle Ass look.
Okay.
New look, same facial structure basically, but also now I've got this like white and black Argyle shirt.
Okay.
And then a white hat with like a black thing on it. That's like, if anybody knows who Sam Snead is, it's like a Sam Snead hat.
Okay.
That's a golf reference for you. Just looks like a pool shark kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Which I get a little too much pleasure in. But I'm also just I wreck the computers at everybody's golf. Like
Nice.
I have to go to online, but then I get somewhat wrecked online. I'm pretty good, but not the best. So
I will say there's one other game that I forgot to mention because I've just been so focused on Elden Ring. I picked Binding of Isaac back up.
Oh, I always wanted to play it.
It's great. It's, more of the same of like the roguelite type thing. It's a top-down sort of twin-stick shooter, I guess, technically. And the reason I picked it up, I was watching a stream and they were playing it, and I was like, that game seems like a good podcast game to go back to. And it is. It's great.
Sure.
I've just been doing runs in it. It's definitely like a hop in, play 30 minutes kind of thing. But really liking it. I'm sort of trophy hunting, not really in it. Are you like me in the fact that you associate summer with video games?
To a degree.
Like, I feel like this is the season to just be playing a ton of shit.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
I love this time period for video games.
It's the time where I like feel less obligated to do other things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there is a mental association. Like I can play video games and not feel like I'm wasting my time.
Right.
Not that I ever really feel like I'm wasting my time.
Yeah,
but
if you're
that's
doing
kind of
something
the
you enjoy.
association.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the news.
Yeah.
Of which there are a few stories, but they're big.
Okay.
We never got to recap the state of play that happened before the Xbox Bethesda showcase.
Right.
Which we will touch back on here in a second, even though if you want to see our full in-depth thoughts on that, you can watch our actual watch-along, as well as about a 20-minute long review after the fact. Both of those are up.
Yep.
But for the state of play, this write-up is on the PlayStation blog by Gillen McAllister.
That's a fake name.
Senior Specialist of Content Communications with SIE.
Senior Specialist?
I say all that because the tone of write-ups like these on the PlayStation blog kind of makes me laugh because literally the first sentence is, "What a show."
They should always start every write-up with that.
And I'm not even going to go into the little write-up here. I'm just going to scroll on down to the actual recap of everything that was discussed.
Okay.
First of which, Resident Evil 4 is coming to PS5 next year. So they are officially remaking Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Did you play Resident Evil 4 back in the day?
I've not played a Resident Evil game.
I know that a lot of people, this is the one they were looking forward to.
Yeah, I know that. So the only experience I've ever had with Resident Evil was watching our next door neighbor play Resident Evil 1 when I was like 5.
That doesn't sound fun.
No, it was terrifying. But I kind of liked it. But Resident Evil 4, I think, is the one that like became more of an action game.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a departure from the straight up horror nature of the first 3. So that's why I think people clamor for it. And it's definitely, I think that's the one most people say is their favorite, at least that I've heard. I know people love 1 and 2, and then 7 and 8 people really like, but of the middle bunch, I think 4 is probably the only one worth remastering.
I know
as someone who doesn't know.
It might be hitting the right age gap too, because I know that one hit right in the heart of like the GameCube. So in terms of age, that would be like our age people clamoring for some of those games.
Right.
So next up, Street Fighter 6 has been fully revealed. First details on new fighters coming to its roster, the drive system, world tour, and more. Good on you, fighting fans.
See,
enjoy.
I don't care about Street Fighter. I never got into it. I'm a Mortal Kombat guy. I do know their logo is awful, though. Have you seen this? Where it's literally like bought off of like an Etsy type place.
Wait, this is just specifically the Street Fighter 6 logo.
Yeah, or at least I don't know if they've re-revealed the logo, but the original one that was just an SF and there's a little 6 in the corner. You can buy an SF lockup on like a design website for $10, and it was the exact same thing.
Interesting.
So they completely cheaped out. It's hilarious. It was the talk of the design community for a little bit.
Final Fantasy 16 launches summer 2023. Good on you, Final Fantasy people.
Yeah, it's a very much not for us show so far, but that's okay. I mean,
those
like
are big
those
names,
are big announcements.
just not the ones that overlap with our interests so much.
Sure. Yeah.
Similarly, Resident Evil Village is in development for PSVR 2.
Good on you,
PSVR owners.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that you could play all of 7 in VR, and now they're doubling down. So I guess the big curiosity for me is that there must be some sort of financial reason that like they must have seen a lot of VR players or people who bought it to play it exclusively on VR.
I know if I had VR, I know there's a lot of the sort of middling little short experiences.
Yeah.
But I would be clamoring for a like full scale AAA game, and this seems like maybe the best option available.
I was gonna say, is this the biggest title that's on PSVR?
I think arguably
The original one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's not Astrobot. Iron Man VR.
Another option coming to PSVR 2, Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Yeah, so what is this?
I don't know.
See, here's the thing. We kind of tune out VR because we don't have it. But also it's like
That was just a funny phrase because we don't have it.
Well, we don't. But I don't know anyone who does have PSVR. Like even through streaming, I don't know if it's ever come up, which is kind of crazy.
I've never seen a PSVR headset outside of the time
Best Buy
that
we went
to Best Buy and randomly tried it. I've never seen one in the wild.
What was the game we played?
Some sort of little fly through. You played the one that was like the balancing.
It was like hole in the wall kind of thing.
Yeah. I played one that was more like a fly through dogfighting space.
Were those all? I feel like I have a sneeze coming. Were those all like just experiences made for that?
I figure, or maybe they're just like.
Or was that what the PlayStation World thing was? There was a VR game called PSVR World, I want to say, and I wonder if that was all those little games.
Maybe
because it was a bunch of like there was one where you could like hit a ball with your head.
I feel like there were like 4 options.
Yeah, it was like a Kinect Sports for VR.
And they like asked you like which one you want to do, and then they boot it up for you.
Yeah.
New weapons and bigger threats are promised for The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution, which is in development for PSVR 2 as well.
So that is a sequel.
I guess.
All right.
I don't have interest in any of these Walking Dead games. They all look like cheap bootleg knockoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe more than any other IP that has recently been converted into a game.
They remind me of both a lot of the shovelware that was on Wii, Just like, here's a game. It ties in with this movie. It's not very good. And it also reminds me of like the Activision era of Spider-Man.
Sure.
Which is like, we got this IP. We're going to crank some game out. It'll make a couple of dollars.
No Man's Sky will take flight on PSVR 2.
It's already in PSVR 1, right?
I guess.
So I don't think this is much of an announcement.
I don't either. Nah.
No Man's Sky's good, though. They fixed that game, and it's kind of incredible.
Intriguing feline adventure Stray launches this July as part of the new PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, definitely going to play it now.
So it looks kind of cool.
It looks decent. It's
cute.
It's a cute idea.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a fun, like, 2-stream game. It'll be perfect.
Marvel's Spider-Man is coming to PC.
Yep.
And it actually says series.
Oh,
Implication
interesting.
being maybe that
Miles is coming?
I assume Miles will come. I doubt that they are saying that they're going to have Spider-Man 2 available day one
At
on
launch,
PC.
yeah.
Eventually, probably.
Yeah.
But similar to God of War, similar to Horizon.
It's funny how they're just trickling out their library on PC.
Smart. I think it's a good strategy.
Yeah, you get buzz every time.
Skate parks turn into bullet-ridden combat arenas in futuristic bloodsport Rollerdrome by Ollie World's creator.
Oh, hey! I didn't see this.
Me neither.
I wonder if it looks good.
We conscientiously objected to this state of play.
We
even
did,
though this
yeah.
sounds kind of cool.
It does sound interesting, yeah.
Terrifying sci-fi horror The Callisto Protocol gets a full gameplay debut.
The Callisto
I recall
Protocol.
the first trailer for The Callisto Protocol. I
No.
want to say that it had pretty good dev lineage behind it.
Oh, interesting.
Like
Okay.
ex-devs from some former big name
Sure.
horror franchise. But again, not my cup of tea overall.
Yeah.
And it's called The Callisto Protocol.
Not as bad as Octopath Traveler, but it's
nothing
close.
or Triangle Strategy.
Project Triangle Strategy.
Embark on a stunningly tranquil, world-changing adventure with Season, A Letter to the Future. No.
The art style of that game is cool, though.
Really? I don't recall this one.
I'm pretty sure. I think I saw this on Twitter, and it's really pretty. I might be confusing it with something else, but
Interesting.
because I saw there's a lot of those sort of vaguely titled games that were part of that Wholesome Direct, and I think I may be confusing it with one of those, but I think I'm thinking of the right game.
Delightful Foxy Adventure Tunic is coming to PlayStation later this year.
Hell yeah, it is.
Heard great things about Tunic.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll. It's not confirmed for Plus, right?
No.
So it's on Game Pass. So I'll probably just play it on PC because I think it might be my next game after Elden Ring. But
You got scooped, PlayStation.
yeah, but I do want to try it out, and if it's on Plus, I'll wait.
And last but not least, dating sim meets action adventure in Eternites.
So this is sort of like Boyfriend Dungeon, I think. I don't know if
I believe it.
I don't know if it's the same devs, but I really want to try Boyfriend Dungeon. It looks hilarious.
I saw a little, maybe it was just a screenshot from Boyfriend Dungeon the other day, and I was like, I had a weird deja vu moment
Okay.
of I feel like I remember playing some sort of high school sim dating-y kind of game on my phone 15 years ago.
Whoa.
And I could not put my finger on anything else about it. But
Like
I
a
had,
visual novel?
yeah,
kind of
I
thing?
had this weird memory of a character would slide in from the side and a little text box would pop up.
Yeah,
In comes
yeah.
another character and a little thing, and it's what do you want to do?
Right.
Which party do you want to go to? I don't know. But I had a vague memory of liking it, and I'm like, do I actually like these games? Deep down, I just never play them. Maybe one will come along and spur me along.
I think those are the kinds of games that you and I could get into. I don't know that I could do a pure visual novel.
Sure.
But that one is like a literal dungeon game mixed with a visual
Well,
novel.
I'm like, would I like Persona? Part of me thinks I would like Persona.
You probably would. I mean,
And
it's
one of these
it's
days,
great.
I might get around to trying it.
You have access to it.
And
Persona 5
on the flip side of State of Play, like I said, if you want our full live reactions to the Xbox show, go check that out.
Oh, I meant to keep
I'll go
myself.
briefly through a list of the stuff that was announced, because there were some, I believe they had a pre-show we were not tuned into, so there are some announcements here that we did not actually see live.
Okay.
Namely, Valheim is coming to Xbox.
Oh.
Good for the Valheimers out there.
Valheim is pretty cool for a little while.
Naraka Blade Point on Xbox Deep Dive. This looks like a character creation where you're creating, it looks like your own character in the Horizon universe, so...
This was the Naraka Blade Point was the battle royale they showed later.
Oh,
that
you're
was like
right.
the
Yeah,
samurai
that
thing.
actually looked kind of cool.
It did look decent.
Because I thought it was the most generic name game of all time.
Oh yeah,
no,
not Raid Shadow Legends. That's what I was gonna do too.
Shadow
Hunter's Arena.
Hunter Shadow Arena Hunters. Hunter Legends Arena.
Legend Arena Hunters?
There are 4 words in there. It's some combination of.
I think
It's
there's only
3 of those
3.
4. Figured out.
God.
Aura History Untold receives first gameplay. This is the one that
the descriptive audio turned on
came
during.
and surprised us, gave us a little spook.
It was so funny.
Obsidian discusses Grounded. We saw some gameplay of Grounded.
Yep. Coming out this
Microsoft
fall.
Flight Simulator 40th anniversary due out next year.
Cool for the nerds.
Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland and High on Life. That was a game that was released from him, and I don't remember the dev behind it. Squanch Games,
Right? Who did the? There's another. I think Roiland is like their guy because they did that. I don't know if it was Trover Saves the Universe, but it was one of those kinds of games that they've done before. It might have been. Was it Job Simulator? They did another game that's got like had good buzz. Arguably my new reveal of the show.
It was pretty cool.
I think
looking.
it looks very interesting and could be really funny.
Sure.
Now, do I want to live in a Rick and Morty type world for like 40 hours? Maybe not, but I think it could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
The guns like talk to you and shit, which is cool.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming to Xbox Game Pass day 1.
Shout out to our buddies at Gun. I know those people.
The game that I'm convinced doesn't exist, Pentiment, gets a behind-the-scenes look. This is for the Obsidian.
Oh, right.
Where I was convinced.
We thought it was an Outer Worlds trailer.
By the first 30 seconds of this trailer because of how explicit they were being about the simplicity of some of the mechanics.
Yes.
It was like, create a character. And like,
choose dialogue.
Yeah, like stuff like that. And they're like, Pentiment. And I'm like, this is not real.
Yeah.
But I guess it is.
What if it's just a long con and it really is Outer Worlds 2?
It's described as a historical mystery game. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah,
but
because
again,
the art style was like sort of folk history, sort of like midsummer style art. It was interesting.
As Dusk Falls developer explains their social experience game.
Bro,
This I know.
we are both out on this
Yeah.
game. So if you don't know what As Dusk Falls is, kind of generic title. It's the game where like everything is 3D, but the people are painted.
Yeah, and the people don't move.
Right, it's like 2 frames a second. They'll just be in one spot and then be in the other. It is so I'm all for mixed media. I think sometimes it creates a really cool we make fun of Octopath Traveler's name. That game looks beautiful.
It looks awesome.
So mixed media can work really well. That art style looks so jarring, and it all I can focus on is how weird it looks. And also, it has up to 8 players of multiplayer, and it's like a narrative game. I have no idea what this game is. It feels way too ambitious.
Because at the end, it had the complete ripoff graphic from Detroit Become Human.
Oh, right,
of
with
the
the branching
storylines.
yeah.
And I'm like, how the hell does this work with more than one person?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Unless it's like a timed sort of I play a chapter, someone else plays a chapter as another character, and then that influences.
Yeah, I was wondering if you and I start a playthrough, then I'm playing character A, you're playing character B, and then at some point they meet.
Yeah, it couldn't be like a true concurrent multiplayer situation because I feel like that would just completely defeat the whole purpose.
Yes.
You couldn't have interactive things going. It'd have to be
especially
sort of
with that art style.
asynchronous.
Yeah, but imagine trying. So the best comp that I can think for this is somewhere between a Telltale game and a Detroit Become Human game. How those games become multiplayer, I have no idea. No idea.
Slime Rancher 2 is coming to Xbox Game Pass day 1.
I want to try these games. They have really good reputation.
Some people love them. I've seen before.
And they're cute.
Yeah. Forza Horizon 5. I almost said Verizon. Hot Wheels DLC gets a deep dive.
If this was free, I would try it.
Sure.
It looks so cool.
Sure. But
the cars in them were awesome.
Master Chief is coming to Fall Guys, which we didn't see.
I didn't see that. It must have been pre-show.
I'm impressed that Fall Guys is still going.
They're still trucking.
Because I loved Fall Guys. I just have not touched it in a year and a half.
It really broke your heart with that trophy.
It did.
You never went back. I've also not played it in about a year.
Game that I thought looked pretty cool, Minecraft Legends.
Yeah, I'm still intrigued by what this is.
It looks more like a more open to exploration version of Minecraft Dungeons. It seems like it has more of a full overworld.
Yeah.
Compared to just the dungeons of those games. So I mean, looks kind of cool.
The only thing I didn't like about it was that it was voxel shaded. I remember that. I was like, this looks weird.
Stalker 2's opening revealed alongside Developer Diary. What is Stalker 2?
I feel like we've seen trailers for Stalker 2 forever. It's like the same. I feel like there's either a Stalker trailer or a Metro trailer at every Xbox event.
Well, weirdly, and this rundown came from IGN, courtesy of Ryan Dinsdale, and it ends there, even though I know we did not talk about Redfall and Starfield.
Yeah.
Or anything else from Bethesda,
yeah,
really.
there's other stuff in there. Yeah, no Elder Scrolls Online that we side at.
Which, that's fine.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Redfall and Starfield, which is the first game and the last game on the show.
Yeah, the bookends. Redfall looks good. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be really fun. They did emphasize, that you could play it single player.
Yes, they did.
They made that a real point of the game. But I think it's another one of those games where, like Left 4 Dead, you can play it single player, but that game is really going to shine if you have 2, 3, 4 people to play it with.
I agree with that.
And it'll be on Game Pass day one, so it'll be a lot more accessible. I remember a similar thing happened with Sea of Thieves, where Sea of Thieves came out and everybody was like, oh, you need a bunch of people to play. And it's like, well, it's on Game Pass.
And slowly, you accumulated people to play with.
Right. It's like a lot of people have Game Pass. We could try it out. Like, I tried it out for a little while and just got really motion sick when I played it, so I couldn't play it anymore. But yeah, no, Redfall looks really good. I trust Arcane to make a game that I go, that looks interesting, and then I don't play.
Yep.
But maybe this will be the one if I get a group to play it with.
Yeah, I agree. I think the gameplay is probably going to be really, really solid.
Yeah.
I arguably think it'll be better than your typical Arcane game because they're not. This does not seem to be an open world game.
No, I think it's levels.
Yeah, so I think that they're maybe going to be at the height of their powers when it comes to gameplay. They're giving all these characters unique abilities, blah, blah, blah. But again, if you were playing the single player, my assumption is if you're going into it, you have to pick the one character that maybe you want to play as during each level or something.
Yeah, like Left 4 Dead.
And that feels very restrictive when these characters all have different abilities that maybe it's like, oh, I want to... Now, if you could maybe somehow flip from character to character mid-mission...
GTA 5 style?
Maybe that's an interesting idea. I don't know if that's what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
But again, experience is probably maximized in multiplayer form.
Sure.
Starfield is confounding to me. The scope is impressive and also makes me trepidatious. Because are they really going to fill 1,000 planets with interesting stuff to do?
Right.
And the gameplay itself that they showed off, it's just slightly modernized Fallout.
Yeah,
like it doesn't look like anything special in terms of being a shooter. So the selling point of this game is the exploration, and I'm not convinced that there's going to be a lot of unique things to explore.
Yeah.
But if they're that spread out over all of this space, I don't know if I'm willing to invest the time to find it all.
Yeah. And I did see some people clarify that, like, there's probably going to be like 20 main planets, and a lot of the other planets are going to be just for resources, which is that good?
I don't
think so. I want to find something every planet I go to. Yeah, I think the scope, we've had this experience with No Man's Sky where scope is great, but it's only so much. I would rather play, like, I personally would rather play a really focused 2-hour game than a broad 100-hour game every time. And so that makes me worried about it. Like you said, the gameplay looks like modernized Fallout. That's a great way to put it. I still don't know why they don't have, like, id come in and be like, hey, make our shooter part for us. Yeah. We'll build the RPG part ourselves, but make the gameplay. And I feel like they said id consulted on Fallout 4, I want to say, but it definitely didn't do much.
No.
Yeah, obviously a lot of people were comparing it to No Man's Sky. No Man's Skyrim was the joke that I saw Lana Pierce and a bunch of people making. But yeah, I just don't know. Right now I'm out on it. I don't think it's my kind of game. It's not what I really come to games for, is scope and just Elden Ring I'm finally into, but even then the sort of open world dense nature of it, or even with how dense that game is, the spaced out part of the map kind of was a hesitation point for me. I only really tend to like open worlds when I'm very invested in the world itself, or like GTA. Or Red Dead. I guess I really like Rockstar stuff, but this just generic sci-fi idea isn't really intriguing to me, so I think it's going to take a lot. It also seems like weird that they're kind of doubling down on the crafting systems that people didn't like in Fallout 4. Like, you can build your own base, which, as you said when we watched it, does make more sense here than it did in Fallout. But also, you can build your own ship. It's like, okay, but how much of your resources went to that versus the actual story? And it feels so similar to Outer Worlds, and they're both under the Xbox umbrella, and I know that was just kind of coincidence, but when they bought them. But yeah, but less charismatic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of intrigue in that world, and maybe there will be, but I'm really worried with this game that Bethesda has finally gotten eclipsed. Like, I don't know. This game makes me worried for Elder Scrolls 6 from what we've seen of it, and yeah, I don't know. I could see this game being very mid and just whatever.
What I worry, well, let me say it's not my worry. Where I could see myself getting interested in this game is if it is a game that you can sort of play not hands off, but sort of with 50% of your brain.
Sure,
you know?
if it becomes a podcast
right.
game.
Like,
yeah.
and this is, it's rare to find purely single player oriented games that suit that genre well.
Which is why we celebrate all the ones we talk about.
Right. But I could picture a game like this where like, oh, it's not very, to say it's not very engaging sounds bad, but it's sort of half engaging to go to a planet. Yeah, I'm just going to collect some resources, blah, blah,
right.
blah. I'm milling about. Or if I could sort of do that stuff in the background leading up to a big mission.
Sure.
Where then I can be focused. But if I can do all this build up, and that kind of seems like maybe what the game is sort of orienting you to do.
Yeah, and I would prefer that.
It doesn't particularly make me worried for Elder Scrolls 6 because I don't think they have to do as much selling of Elder Scrolls 6 beyond, okay, it is a little modernized Skyrim.
Yeah.
That's all I really want from that game.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know people said with Fallout, all I really want is Fallout, but slightly modernized. But I think the shooting mechanics is what really dragged Fallout 4 down because they were really backwards by comparison to a lot of other games.
Yeah.
Whereas Skyrim, it's like, well, I can swing a sword around.
Right.
I just need a big world to explore.
Yeah.
And with Skyrim or with Elder Scrolls 6, presumably I'm not going to be warping to different planets like the implication is here. So, yeah, I'm not worried about Elder Scrolls 6, but I am worried about this game and sort of the future of Bethesda beyond.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, is this it seems more indicative of our worries of Fallout 4 that they were like little red flags of. And I don't want that to keep scaling with a new Fallout, and obviously Elder Scrolls 6 will be next.
Yeah.
So that's also, why did they reveal Elder Scrolls 6 so early?
It's baffling.
It makes no sense other than to get the hype of it. And now they've shot themselves in the foot because everyone thinks about Elder Scrolls 6 and they're like, when's Elder Scrolls 6 coming? It's like, it's obviously not coming for a few years because Starfield isn't even out, and I imagine it's the same team. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
There was some sort of announcement like it is the next big game that they're doing.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell you very much.
No,
but
like we knew Last of Us 2 was coming after Uncharted 4 forever, and it still took a while. And Naughty Dog's way faster than Bethesda.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope it's good, but we'll see.
Me too. If it reviews great, I'll play it.
Yeah. Speaking of Naughty Dog,
Yeah.
Last of Us Day has come and gone since we last recorded.
Oh, really?
And as such, we got some news dropped about some of the future entries in the Last of Us series. This is also a rundown on the PlayStation blog. This is from June 9th, The Growing Future of The Last of Us, from Rochelle Snyder, Senior Manager of Communications for Naughty Dog. Whether you're here following our Summer Games Fest announcements or just catching up on the latest news from the studio, we're excited to share what's in store for the future of The Last of Us. Many of you have expressed how strongly The Last of Us series resonates with you. And we're humbled by the community.
Listening to the audio, we just pointed at ourselves, and I pointed at my tattoo.
I kind of pointed around my face, if I'm being honest. I kind of missed myself, but... and we're humbled by the community's outpouring of passion and excitement towards the series' growing and evolving world and characters. We're happy to share that The Last of Us Part 2 has sold more than 10 million copies globally. As of this spring, knowing the support we have, our studio continues to see exciting new avenues to introduce curious audiences and galvanize fans. With those opportunities in mind, let's talk about the immense future of The Last of Us. I believe there are 3 entries.
Okay.
Entry 1. Standalone multiplayer.
Yeah!
It's no secret that many of you are not only drawn to The Last of Us' stories, but also the game's original Factions multiplayer.
So good.
Since The Last of Us Factions release almost a decade ago, dedicated players have been vocal about an expansion upon that offering. However, we can finally announce that we're creating something much larger than a mode. We're thrilled to share a piece of concept art, which is basically just 2 people on top of a building with guns overlooking a city.
Yeah.
Concept art from our upcoming multiplayer experience, which is an extremely ambitious undertaking. We're growing our studio significantly to ensure we build this full-scale standalone game with its massive scope and immense world in a way that fans have come to expect from The Last of Us and Naughty Dog. We aim to make our newest entry into multiplayer inviting to new players while still a thrilling challenge for our more seasoned fans. There'll be more news to come next year. Cannot wait to introduce the team behind this new experience.
So, game's not coming for a while because they're still growing the team. I'm guessing 2024 maybe? That image is overlooking a big map. I'm wondering if there's a Battle Royale component.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think it implies.
Yeah. Is it going to be like you're battling through Bill's town with a bunch of people?
Which, here's what I'll say. Is Battle Royale played out? A little bit.
Kind of.
Does that sound awesome?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
With the sheer, grittiness, resource intensiveness of The Last of Us multiplayer from the original game.
Yeah.
That in a Battle Royale mode, I think makes an insane amount of sense.
Yeah, me too.
A city full of resources where the faster you can craft good weapons, the farther you're going to be able to go. And if there are potentially infected in
I was just about
map,
to say the same thing.
that would be so awesome.
Like there's 3 clickers guarding a great weapon.
Yeah. And if it, obviously I want it to make sense and play well for multiple players because if there's anything we're going to try multiplayer in a while that's novel, this is going to be it.
Yeah.
But if this plays well in a single player fashion, oh my God.
That's all
I
I'll
will
stream.
play it to death.
I'll stream it so often. Yeah, I wonder if, because the way they're talking about this, they said more than a mode. So I'm wondering if maybe factions will still be there. Because I
assume so.
I hope so. Because that is really the only type of multiplayer like that I've really loved. I mean, Gunfight is, I guess, kind of similar. Your CSGO, Valorant type games are kind of similar. But just, it involves a lot more strategy and, sort of the roles of, not an Overwatch, but that kind of, I was a crafter. You were a, sniper. We had our sort of dedications. So I really want that to come back. And yeah, I'm gonna be excited for it. Here's what I will say though. We gotta preempt this now. People are gonna see Last of Us in a PlayStation show and get excited and then be pissed that it's multiplayer and not Last of Us 3. That's gonna happen. Just wait for those reactions. That's gonna be a thing.
That's fair.
People are gonna hear the Last of Us music and be like, oh, and then they'll be like, it's multiplayer.
Maybe they'd have to craft that trailer well, though. Maybe if you sort of introduced it more as, demo the gameplay itself or preview it or sort of do a cinematic trailer sort of implying, hey, this is a big open thing and end with The Last of Us.
Right.
And then, factions or whatever.
Yeah, I think you probably start with, I don't know. The Last of Us looks so itself that people are going to know that's what it is.
And they are a sucker for literally the first thing, black screen, Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that's true. They do love that. But I bet the trailer is going to be something like, unnamed person scavenging through drawers, having a gun, and then gets shot at, and then it does the camera scale thing where it zooms out and there's a bunch of players playing. So that might sell it okay, but I just worry that people will think it's going to be a sequel when it's a multiplayer thing.
I hope they'll be excited about this as well.
Me too.
It promises to be awesome.
Obviously, A Last of Us Part 3 would be incredibly hype. But I'm going to be almost as equally hyped for this.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm so excited to play Factions again.
The way that 2 left off, obviously I'd be excited for Last of Us Part 3.
Yeah.
But I'm not chomping at the bit for that right now.
Yeah, I'm not clamoring for it.
Next update just has to do with the HBO show. I won't read through the entire little blurb here, but there's not really much update with regards to... it's mostly about interesting people that have been involved in the production. So feel free to do more research.
They're done filming now.
They're done filming. There was a tweet. That's a wrap. So.
And Troy Baker and Ashley both have roles in the show, which is cool.
Love that.
Yeah, me too.
So no announcement of a release date or anything, but that means it promises to be in the relative near future.
I'm guessing next year.
Yeah.
HBO drops a lot of their new stuff in summer.
But the last update that we were arguably the one that is most significant and obviously the most time relevant is The Last of Us Part 1 remake is due out September 2nd of this year.
It's very soon.
And we have seen now multiple little clips of the game. Mostly it was cutscenes. I don't think we saw any actual gameplay.
I don't think so either.
both from a trailer that was released on this particular PlayStation blog post, and since then on Twitter we have seen Tess specifically,
yes,
and how her character has been redesigned and more closely matches the facial animation of the actress. So I'm excited. I don't need, there is no belaboring to the point that if our favorite game is being remade, I'm excited and I'm ready to play it.
Here's my intrigue though. So something that is interesting about this game, and I know I've seen the meme and it's funny, I sort of agree with it, that like these games will never stop coming out, and it's Skyrim, GTA 5, and Last of Us.
Yeah, it was the 3-generation club or whatever.
Yes, but this is the only one of those games to get a ground-up remake. This is a remake, not a new coat of paint. They are using the Last of Us 2 combat system. So that part of it really intrigues me.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to play fundamentally a little different than Last of Us playthroughs have in the past, which is cool. I did see someone tweet out that they're, like, terrified of, you know the scene where you have to start the generator?
Yes.
They're terrified of that with the new tech.
I'm mortified by some of these scenes, but I mean, I was mortified by the original game at some points, but I love it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to take some adjusting to not see their faces as the original faces, and it's more like the actors. Because, like, Tess looks fundamentally different, and it's almost jarring. I'm like, oh, right, this looks more like the actor. But if it allows for better emotional capture, obviously they're pulling, I don't know how this works, games are magic, but, like, they're obviously pulling some of the original raw mocap stuff and applying the new mocap capture stuff they have to make it more realistic. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be really fun, and the fact that it's September is awesome. That's so soon.
I think the point is prescient that you just made about like some of these actors are gonna be like, okay, it's a little jarring.
Yeah.
I don't think that applies to Joel and Ellie because we've seen them in The Last of Us Part 2.
Right, they're just gonna look like Last of Us 2, Joel and Ellie.
We're sort of used to that.
Yes,
but like
Sam,
I was gonna say, I'm so excited to play through their arc in this remake.
Yeah, me too.
Their arc. Everything with Tess, everything with Bill, everything with Nadine, there's so much that is going to be just refreshed by this, that to not be excited, it's like, I understand it because it's just a remake.
Sure.
But
I'll buy it.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Okay, the only other question I have about it, how do you feel about The Last of Us Part 1?
I like it.
See, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Because, like, the obvious connection that people have made is that it's The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2, not The Godfather 2. And that, like, they didn't now retroactively call it The Godfather Part 1. I guess it will be nice just for differentiating it on, like, a store page or, like, you know, I'm buying the new remake. But I don't know. I don't think we're going back and renaming the game. I think it's just this remake is called The Last of Us Part 1.
Probably so.
But I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know. I actually kind of like it because I think it just, in a way, I feel like the implication is that there will be a part 3 and maybe a part 4. Like there is an extension of the franchise that is more allowed by this subtitle. Like calling it The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't give it a lot of finality. It's sort of like this is an ongoing chapter in this story.
Right.
And that kind of makes me curious for what they might call the multiplayer standalone release.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what subtitle they're going to give to it. Like,
Outbreak.
Something.
Factions.
Yeah. I don't think it'll have any
call it Factions anymore.
No, I don't think so either. But there's no chance they're going to call it any, like, part whatever. Yeah. Because it's not part of the storyline of the whole series.
Right. And maybe that's it. Maybe they're trying to give you they're trying to avoid the Kingdom Hearts thing. Where it's like Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2.5
Super Remix.
Kingdom Hearts, there's one that's a fraction. It's like 356/8 days or whatever. Like I think that's what they're trying to do, or even the Final Fantasy thing where it's like Final Fantasy, there's the one that's like 10 and 10 and a half or whatever. Or 10-2, maybe that's what it is.
10-2, which is the
I don't understand Final Fantasy naming convention. So maybe that's what they're trying to get ahead of, and I think you're right, it probably is an indicator that we're going to get more of those games. The other thing that I guess it does well is that it makes it feel more like these two things are equal.
Sure.
Right? This is part 1, this is part 2.
Sure.
Like, we are embracing the fact that so far this is the complete story as opposed to this is The Last of Us and this is a follow-up.
Yeah. It just screams to me them sitting in a boardroom and saying, we need to plan for the future of this franchise and how we're going to contextualize every entry in it.
Yeah.
And it's possible that The Last of Us name only applies to stories that involve Joel and Ellie.
Oh,
and
interesting.
maybe eventually they sort of surpass that, and the name sort of gets remixed, and then we have a something else part 1
Outbreak
in
part
the
one,
Last
yeah.
of Us universe, like
Right.
So it sort of contextualizes each character's story. I think it could be something like that.
Could be, yeah.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
Last story, and it's very brief.
Okay.
But on the same vein of all these announcements that we've gotten so far, the story is simply rumors abound, and perhaps by the time you hear this podcast, the rumors will be confirmed, that a Nintendo Direct will take place later this month here in June. Lots of things on the table for what could be shown here. Obviously,
Breath of the Wild
2, Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, even though
Yeah.
they tend to do more Pokemon-centric
Yeah.
directs. But it's possible we get a little update there.
Yep.
Honestly, those are the only two things I give a literal shit about.
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, I mean,
Didn't they get like a? Didn't they add a bunch of new tracks to Mario Kart? That's a thing, right?
I do not know.
They're adding a bunch of stuff. They're adding like 16 tracks to Mario Kart already.
What I do know is that historically, full-scale Nintendo Directs tend to mean something comparison-wise to
That's
mini
true.
Directs.
Yeah.
So there could be something that just falls out of the sky at this Direct.
Yeah. Super Mario Odyssey 2.
I would, we'll run out of the room.
Yeah.
We'd be very excited.
I'd be very pumped, yeah. I will say, though,
Go
the
for it.
last full-scale Direct was when they announced Splatoon 3, which I guess is a game that's on the table. But then they ended it with the Zelda guy saying, we don't have any Zelda news, but here's a Game & Watch system with Zelda on it. So that's why
That was very funny.
I'm still a little...
and the Twilight
PTSD from
Princess, or no, Skyward Sword.
Oh, that's right. Did that come out? Is that out
HD,
already?
I think.
I think it is, right?
It looked very late in development when we were shown it, so I assume
Yeah.
it's out by now. But I
Also,
don't care.
I saw a tweet after this Last of Us article came
Sure.
out that someone was like, I find it hilarious that Luigi's Mansion 2 outsold Last of Us Part 2. Is that true? Or sorry, Luigi's Mansion 3.
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
I mean, I guess it's not that far-fetched. Because
Oh, yeah, it sold 11.43 million copies.
there are a lot of Switches out there.
Yeah, and a lot of... That's like a way more family game. Like,
Sure.
Last of Us is more of a hardcore thing, I think, but...
I'd love to show my 4-year-old The Last of Us Part 2.
So we're at this hospital. Good.
Beat this man to death with a bat. All right. That's all for our news stories.
All right.
On to our big topic. We've got one of our classic listicle topics for you today.
Yeah, buzzwords.
And my thought here, I've been seeing this pop up a lot on the internet as of late.
Yeah.
People referring to things as their comfort blank.
Right, yeah.
Comfort show. Comfort movie.
Yeah.
I've never really seen a discussion of comfort games before.
That's true.
I Googled it.
I
They
like
are
this
out
topic.
there. But I figured we'd come to you hot and heavy.
Yeah.
Or really, more comfortingly, maybe like soft and cool.
Oh, there you go.
That's how I like it. That's how I get comfortable.
That's good.
With each of our respective top 10 comfort games.
Yes.
And what I would first like to ask you is when I told you this,
Yeah.
how do you define a comfort game?
I was going to ask you that too.
Okay.
To me, a comfort game is... I kept putting myself in the mindset of like not having a great day. You know, maybe anxious, maybe something happened at work, maybe I'm just not feeling it for whatever reason. What am I going to boot up and spend some time in? Now, I also kind of hybridize that with games that I feel like I can spend a lot of time in and feel very comfortable
Sure.
in that regard. But mostly it is like this list and like a sick day list would be pretty similar for me.
Sure.
Of just games I want to just kind of play, relax, I'm very comfortable with, and just feel comforted by.
Yeah.
What is your definition?
In a similar vein, no game on my list would I consider stressful. So even
interesting.
though some of my favorite games ever are like the Last of Us games, the Souls games,
Right.
Bloodborne, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Those games don't really evoke... I just want to sit here and relax and play something.
Yeah.
When I feel like playing something intensive, I reach for games like that. These are games that I'm like, okay, I have a few hours on a day where I'm not really doing anything and I just want to play something.
Right.
Sometimes I'll get an inkling to play one of these games. Or some of these games are almost more just nostalgic. Like I haven't played them in a while, but
Yeah.
they evoke that similar thing from when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I just wanted to play something that was like, oh, I'm just losing time in this, but just enjoying myself stress-free, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So that's the sort of system that I approach this with. We've each got 10.
Yeah.
And per our discussion earlier, we have opted to rank them.
Yes.
So going from 10 up, we have our 10th most comforting game or 10th highest rated comfort game to our first.
Yeah.
And we'll go that order, I assume.
We're going to alternate?
Sure.
10, 10, 9,
Yeah, that's
9.
what I figured.
Can I have another drink before we start?
Of course.
These are pretty good. I like
Lover
them.
boy.
Thanks.
What are you looking at, Weather Boy? Remember that video? You ever seen that? The weatherman coming up and interviewing the kid outside of a popsicle or hot dog stand or whatever. He's like, "What'd you get today?" Or something, and the kid's like, "What do you?" Or like, shoot, I don't remember exactly what he says. I think he's just like, "What are you looking at, Weather Boy?"
That's
and
good.
the guy's like, "Okay."
Sometimes like news videos are hilarious. There's that one of the guy getting absolutely mowed down when the skiers come by.
Yes.
That I showed my boss, and I don't think I've seen him laugh harder at anything in my life. He talks about it all the time. All right, so I have some honorable mentions.
I have 3. Good.
Okay, do we want to do those first?
Sure. You give all yours, and I'll give all mine.
Okay, so honorable mentions. Sporkle is one of them.
Oh.
Which is the trivia website.
Yeah.
Every now and then I just get in the mood to do some trivia, especially if I'm like home with my mom. We've
done plenty of those
trivia.
before as well.
Yeah, we've sat around
and tag teaming them is oddly fun.
It's very fun, yeah. Assorted PopCap games.
Yep.
I'll get into one specific later, of course, but Plants vs. Zombies, Zuma, Chuzzle was one for a while, Bejeweled. PopCap is just that kind of like mindless fun.
Yeah.
Pokemon Fire Red is one for me. It made the honorable mention because it's not a game I do a playthrough of a lot.
Sure.
But every now and then I'll get the itch to play through it, and that is a very comforting experience. I just couldn't think of to narrow it down, so whatever racing game is one of my honorable mentions. Like, if it's Forza, if it's Wreckfest I got into for a while, if it's like The Crew I played for a hot second, those are just very sort of comforting background games. And then the last one for me, board games.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Clue, Monopoly, Trivial Pursuit, those kinds of things are very comforting, even with like hanging out with a friend and casually
I
playing
need
them.
to get some more of those to just because that podcast game, talk about easy to kill some time, listen to a podcast, whatever.
Yeah, they should have better trophies.
Yeah. My 3 honorable mentions is clearly the one you're referring to, which is Peggle.
Yeah, that'll come up later in my list.
So I won't elaborate.
Yeah.
The Dragon Ball Z Budokai series. Like the whole series.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, Tenkaichi 1, 2, 3. Just something about them every now and then. I remember those days fondly, and I have gone back once or twice.
Yeah.
And played like some of Budokai 2, just because that's the one that I know I still have.
Yeah.
And just bopped around in it. So love those games. And my sort of board game, even though it's a very specific board game, Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Both Legacy of the Duelist and Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution, because that's the one I platinum.
Rolls right off the tongue.
So, any card game is inherently not going to be that stressful and good to just like dole about and kill time. So,
oh shit, I forgot one. Oh no,
something's come to mind.
I gotta knock something off.
Oh, so it's high enough.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. So I'm gonna make. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make Slay the Spire now an honorable mention.
Fair play.
It was in my main list.
I started to mention Slay the Spire.
Okay. I have adjusted my list, but yeah,
I'll call Slay the Spire an honorable mention as well.
Yeah,
we've talked a lot about
we
it.
praised that game a lot, but it's another one of those. Podcast games and comfort games do have a little bit of an overlap.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So for number 10, would you like me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
My number 10, Super Monkey Ball.
Hey, that's a great one. That's a great call.
And again, it's sort of the whole series thing. I played a fair amount of Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 back in the day on GameCube. The Banana Blitz that just got released last year is on PS5. It's just one of those things that every now and again, it's less that I'm hankering for Super Monkey Ball or anything entailing like obviously the story, which is non-existent. Something about that gameplay system.
Yes.
Is just so simple.
Yeah.
And, it's mind massaging. It's not mind numbing.
Right.
It's sort of like I'm not thinking, but it's like I'm recharging by just doing this very simple motion style gameplay. So the Super Monkey Ball series, there's not much else to say to it besides it is a very simple, very playful, not stressful way to kill some time.
Yes. That's a great call because that's one of those games that every time I get in my like emulator mode, I always boot up a Super Monkey Ball and play like the first 10 levels or however many. I almost tried to play it on, so I put some emulator stuff on my iPad to play on the drive back from the beach. But then I thought, ooh, Monkey Ball in a car sounds like a recipe for disaster.
That's true.
But it is one of those games that's always fresh on my mind. Man, I keep thinking of more now. Now that we're talking about it. Number 10 for me is Moonlighter.
Ooh.
This is just, it's one of those games that, again, like Slay the Spire, I've sung the praises of a lot. I think the reason I like it above even like a Binding of Isaac or something, which Binding of Isaac is a little too aggressive to be comforting, I think, or something like a Rogue Legacy, is that there's the whole shopkeeping mechanic that gives you that like brain itch of, or brain scratch rather, of like making progress in a way that's not combat related.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're doing a store manager and then you're also like you're selling all the stuff you get. So it makes it feel, I guess the thing that Moonlighter does really well that other roguelites maybe don't is even your worst runs feel productive because you get stuff to sell. Like granted, you don't get as much to sell as if you have a great run, but just that little bit of, okay, even the run where I died where I didn't want to, I still have something to show for it.
Yeah.
Is amazing. And I love that game. I love the art style. There's still so much I can do even though I've beaten it. Like it's one of those games that I just always have on my PlayStation.
My number 9. This one was a little out of left field for me. Not because it's not a prominent game. It's just a game I haven't played in a while. And weirdly, I've only played through it once. But it's one of those games that's comforting to think about, which is Journey.
Oh, that's a good call.
I was like,
man, there are a lot of these.
What game is sort of emotionally comforting? And that game was at the forefront because it's just such a, there are stressful moments in Journey if you've ever played through it. Not like significantly stressful. Right. But sort of where the tone shifts a little bit. But the whole thematicness of Journey is like teamwork and like uplifting, sort of reaching a goal. And it's not gameplay intensive. Like it's not like, oh, I have to be good at this certain thing to beat this game. It's just I am progressing through it in a very simple, deliberate pace. Right. And eventually reaching this very satisfying conclusion. If you've never played Journey, you have to play it.
You got to give it a try.
It's not long.
No, it's
and
2-3 hours.
The ending is just about as uplifting and borderline spiritual as a game ending that I've ever played.
Yeah, well said.
So it's one of those games that you think about and enjoy and reminisce about. So I highly recommend it. Yeah,
Journey is fantastic. The like gimmick with Journey that you don't know if you've not played it is amazing. Yeah. There's a lot of really clever stuff going on in that game, and it rightfully won Game of the Year a lot of places. And that was a pretty notable Game of the Year win because I think that was one of the first not super big games to win. Yeah. Because I remember that year, was that 2012?
11 or 12. I think it was 12.
Because it was Walking Dead Season 1 and Journey. Yeah. Those were the two. And I was like, wow, this is a really interesting Game of the Year. I've also just thought of another one, so I had to make another honorable mention. Hades is now an honorable mention. That game's really comforting. Similar thing to Moonlighter, where like every run feels like progress. I love the music. I guess any Supergiant game kind of applies. Like Pyre is comforting to me too. Something about their art style and the music, especially like Transistor, is amazing too. Just all the Supergiant games are honorable mentions now because I can't believe I didn't think of this. Number 9, a game that I've only played through once, but every time I played it felt very comfortable and comforting, is Breath of the Wild. I didn't have it on my list for some reason, but like that is one of the only games I've ever described as magical for me, and it's just so pleasant, even though, you know, there are stressful moments of maybe you're getting shot at by a guardian or having to fight a big boss or can't figure out a puzzle. The overall art style and music and just scope in a way that every few seconds you can find something that is worth exploring, especially with all of the shrines. The shrines are maybe one of my favorite mechanics in any video game ever, because they are such little chapter breaks to a larger goal. It always feels like you're doing something productive in that game, and just the music is great and the art style is great and it's so good to look at. All the Zelda games to a degree, but especially that one is very comforting to me.
Yeah, I almost put it on my list because it's the role that it occupies in my head is one of the most leisurely enjoyable open worlds to explore. Like, I really enjoy the game, not to the heights that some people do, but for being what it is a just completely immersive, lose your time in open world, which is why I like it. Yeah. Number 8 for me, this is going to be a little bit of I have interesting reasonings behind this. Okay. Assassin's Creed 2.
Oh, all right.
Which I've said before is probably my favorite entry in the whole series. But to think of it as a comfort game is sort of a multi-pronged thing.
Okay.
Prong one is that it's just very nostalgic. It was the first Assassin's Creed game I played.
Sure.
It was at the height of my open world obsession because that was sort of my favorite genre of games for a long time. When it and Infamous, games like that were sort of at the forefront.
Right. Crisis.
Oh yeah. Well, Crisis is not open world.
Is it not open world? Oh, I thought it was.
It's sort of like corridor-ish. Anyway.
Sorry.
This reason is going to be interesting. The aesthetic, like the coloration of Assassin's Creed 2. It's very muted but bright. It's sort of like soft to look at.
Okay, like and the Vaseline on the lens.
Is soft, like it's whatever the little sayer, like the lyre, yeah. Just very soft, like stringed instrument. Walking around Venice and Florence and places like this, when you're not doing anything that, like, you're not in a place you're not supposed to be, blah blah blah. It's very weirdly sort of like I'm just kind of exploring this district of this city from history. Yeah. So it is sort of oddly relaxing to just kind of play through. Now, jumping off a 3-story building and stabbing somebody in the back of the neck, not as relaxing.
Sure.
But this game sort of frames everything in a way that nothing is like bombastic. Even the kills are sort of low key.
Right.
So the whole game is sort of a very,
understated.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's sort of flat but not in your face exploration. I don't know. It's hard to articulate, but if you've played Assassin's Creed 2 relative to other Assassin's Creed games, this is the most sort of stoic of them. Yeah. That's why I like it.
Yeah, that also reminded me randomly of a small game that I didn't play enough to put on the list, but actually 2 games came to mind that are nothing like Assassin's Creed. Assembled with Care, which is a game where you fix broken things, and Unpacking. But that both of those like sort of understated, sort of chill kind of experiences. Even though those are very different from Assassin's Creed. Also very different from Assassin's Creed, but a game I felt like I had to put on here. Number 8 for me, Stardew Valley.
I'm tempted to play it now.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. And it's not normally my kind of thing. Like I played a little Harvest Moon as a kid.
Sure.
Which is obviously a direct inspiration for this game. Never been a huge Animal Crossing guy, even with the new Switch one. I did enjoy it for a while, but I didn't feel like there was enough gameplay there, I guess. It's more about, it's a more sort of, for a lot of people, that is a very comforting experience because it is so low stakes.
I get it.
Stardew, to me, has enough stakes where it's still super enjoyable, but if you want to spend... It reminds me a lot of a comp that I think you'll appreciate. It's sort of a Minecraft in a way, because after you build your base in Minecraft, you kind of have the option to like, okay, well, I could start a garden, or I could, go to the caves and start killing enemies and mining stuff.
Yeah, it's another game I strongly considered putting on my list.
That's a good one. I didn't think of it till just now, but like it does have all of those elements. There is combat where you can go mine stuff. There is the farm, obviously that's the biggest component. There's also all of the relationships with all the characters. You can marry all the characters, or most of them, I think. Like there's so much to do in that world, but at the end of the day, it is still just like a farming sim.
Yeah.
And I love farming in video games anyway. Oh, there's fishing. I love fishing in video games too. And so like it has all of those little boxes. I know several people who would put Stardew as number 1 on their list. I don't have as much time invested as those people do. I feel like if I started to play through like on PlayStation for trophies, which by the way, apparently a very hard trophy game, it would probably go up even higher. But outside of just finishing a year, which I've done a couple times, I've not had the motivation to go on any further than that. But there are several in-game systems to motivate you to keep going. There's like a museum where when you find a new something, you can log it there, and then you try to log all the things in the museum. Like there's definitely way more gamey stuff than like, well, Animal Crossing has a museum too.
Sure.
It has more gameplay than something that chill, but at the end of the day, you're just farming stuff and like getting crops and talking to people, and it's great. I love Stardew. Soundtrack also amazing. My
number 7 is the most nebulous entry on my list. Okay. Because it's just any golf sim game.
Yeah.
And I'm including Everybody's Golf in this, which is very cartoonish.
Sure.
But honestly, the mechanics of Everybody's Golf are about on par with your typical simplified modes in your like 2K's ongoing golf series right now. The old EA Sports Tiger Woods golf games.
Yeah.
If you play those on like the not hardcorest of modes, It's very similar. But
Yeah.
I'm including those games as well because really I play golf. I love golf. And there is no story whatsoever. You don't have to put in any
You
thought
and the course,
beyond.
baby. That's the only story you need.
And what's funny is that in real golf stresses me out.
Okay.
I love it. Well, it used to. When I was playing like competitively in high school.
Yeah.
Because I was always thinking, okay, if I can par this hole, then I can bogey the next hole, and then I can get one par and one bogey, and I'll finish with a 80.
Right.
Like on the whole course.
Yeah.
I always thought too far ahead playing real golf. And I never, ever, ever was able to do the things that I planned in my head. Because I'm only decent at golf. I'm
Right.
not great. I'm
Yeah.
fine. These games, I have no problem just being like, I'm just playing this shot.
Right.
And that's all you have to think about from a moment-to-moment basis is, how should I hit this shot? Do I want to get weird? Do I want to like try to drive the green?
Yeah.
Do I want to lay up? So there's no persistent, stress to this kind of golf. Obviously, it's not the stakes of real life golf, so at least the way it was back in the day.
Yeah.
But do you like that slow
Yeah,
release?
I don't know if audio picked that up, but Jay's can did like a sigh when he opened it.
It was one of those. Just the simplicity of I am going to plan how I'm going to hit this shot. And up to the point of having my stick be the actual swing arc, which I don't like because that's a little too in depth. Because it's very difficult to swing a video game stick straight back and straight forth.
Yeah.
All the simminess below that I enjoy, and I can just think about how each shot is going to play out. So any golf game.
Here's a question for you. Does playing video game golf make you a better actual golfer?
Maybe
From a strategy standpoint.
marginally.
Okay.
Like, just because playing like real, like Tiger Woods or the 2K series,
Yeah.
you are actually thinking like, okay, you can see play out in real time. How does this approach shot affect my next shot?
Right.
And if I want to, I've learned as I've gotten older playing real golf, it's much smarter to hit a club to a spot where the next shot that you hit, you're going to hit a club that you like. It's not about getting close to the green. It's about getting to a club that you're comfortable with.
Right.
Because to me, if I'm 80 yards away, not fun.
Oh, interesting.
If I'm 100 yards away,
Oh, interesting.
fun.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's better for me not to hit it quite as far.
It's like shooting a 3 versus a long 2.
Yeah, so in a game like that where it's like, okay, I could swing away, it's very easy to see the consequences.
Yeah.
You're more likely to hit it in the rough. You're more likely to hook, slice, whatever.
Right.
But if you lay up, get to a club you're comfortable with, it's more of a meta
Sure,
thought process.
Yeah, that's
thing.
what I was thinking. Because like I know from like playing 2K that I am a more educated basketball watcher.
Sure.
Because I play the game. Now, granted, I don't think it would make me any better on the court. I've not played basketball in years, but like even just like from a larger scale thought process kind of thing, it makes me marginally better to understand the game. Number 7 for me is a game we've already talked about a little bit today, Super Mario Odyssey. So this game is I was talking about this the other day, that I don't really play my Switch a ton. The only time I really play it is when I go home to like visit my mom, or I didn't even take it on the trip because I was playing an iPad, but like you don't want to carry 15 different pieces of tech. But when I do play my Switch, it's almost always just getting moons in Super Mario Odyssey. I have slow played to the max 100%ing Super Mario Odyssey to the point where it's become a like Christmas tradition. When I go home, I always just like try to get as many moons as I can. And we don't have to sing the praises of Mario. The games are awesome. But Odyssey in particular is so like go your own pace that it adds an extra level of comfort that I never feel like I'm too pressured to get 10 moons, or I think this is probably the lowest stakes Mario game, I guess, or at least intense Mario game maybe, because you go back and play like 64 or Sunshine, or as far as 3D ones go, and there are some levels that are like straight up hard in those games, and like this has that, but a lot of the moons are more puzzle related, or finding all the pieces of something, or being able to jump to this one spot. It's a lot larger scale and therefore less specific and precise. And I really like collecting all the moons in it, and it has always become sort of a comfort thing. If I pick up my Switch, I'm just going to probably play a few levels of Odyssey.
Yeah. I didn't really think of Odyssey, but 64, specifically 64 on DS, I was considering on my list. And part of that was I think mobile games have a weird like comforting nostalgia aspect to me.
Sure.
So that was one that I did consider, but I actually omitted in regard to the rest of these.
I will say the only game that I really put any time. Well, I put time into a couple games on the way back from the beach. Mm-hmm. The game I put the most time into was Super Mario World. I played like the first 3 areas of Super Mario World on the way back. It was great. I loved it.
Can't argue with that.
The game's so good.
Number 6 for me, the Tony Hawk series.
Yeah.
Like
great one.
And another series where it's just the gameplay is the reason you play.
Yeah.
Sure, there's the fun of like the fun, wacky stupidity, dumbassery of the Underground 1 and 2 stories.
Yeah.
But the 1 and 2, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered that just came out a couple years ago, like I just had an absolute blast just coming home after doing whatever I was doing, and it's like, all right, time to skate. Put on a podcast. Let's skate around.
Time to skate.
Because I don't skate in real life.
Puts on his roller skates.
That's about as close as I get. And even the time trialed, modes in that.
Yeah.
It sort of harkens back to like a roguelite where, all right, I can just throw myself at attempts at this time trial, and it's not particularly stressful because I know I'm not like capped on my attempts.
Right,
like,
it's the Hotline Miami thing.
I can just go.
Yeah.
So even in those modes, it's a fun zen little thing to do. But obviously, like your free skate modes where you're just trying to hit that one trick. In the remake, there were trophies associated with hitting all of these tricks for all these different skaters.
Yeah.
That was a great way to kill time. Tons of challenges. The only, downside of that was that the grind to get to level 100 for that trophy is just stupid. I might get back to it one day.
It's the Rayman Legends thing for me.
I imagine I probably will get back to it one day.
Yeah, you probably will.
Assuming that they don't release a new Tony Hawk remake anytime soon, which I am assuming that.
R.I.P. Vicarious Visions.
But, yeah, it's one of those games where the gameplay is so spot on and tight and fun, but not pressuring you to succeed on every individual attempt. You can try and fail as much as you want.
Yeah.
And that's one of those games. As long as there's no pressure like that, it screams comfort to me.
Yeah. No, well said. I totally agree. I really want 3 and 4 remastered.
Of course I do. I want it all, baby.
Because I don't have as much of a connection to 1 and 2 as I do 3 and 4.
Me too.
I think 3 was probably my first real one. Like I've played 1 since, but I don't think I played 1 in the moment. I think I played it like later when I first got into emulation.
Yeah.
Whereas 3 and 4, I definitely played in the moment, and then Underground 1 and 2, and American Wasteland, and Project 8. But there's a special place in my heart for those games as well. Similar thing for me, again, not on my list, but like to the Crash remasters and the Spyro remasters. Sure. Those are games that, again, I can always just throw on if I want to chill and play a little with a podcast. Number 6 for me. The game that I probably start the most new playthroughs of, complete playthroughs and finish, Shovel Knight. I've probably played through Shovel Knight 10, 15 times at this point. It's the perfect length for like, I'm going to spend 4 hours doing something. Part of that is that one of the trophies that you have to speed run through the game in like 2 hours or whatever, or it's like under an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
Because it is under an hour and a half, because my final speedrun time to get that trophy is an hour 29:29. Now, I will always remember that number. I barely made it, but like when you know that game really well, it's so easy to go through, but the combat is just so fun. The boss fights are so fun. The music is incredible. Legitimately one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. It's just, and a game I absolutely adore. And it's never, once you know that game well enough, it's not that hard. And so just going through it, booting it up, being the Shovel Knight, seeing For Chivalry, and doing all the boss fights and having all the rush of the first time I played that game on Vita, I think was the first place I played it, is really wonderful. Kind of your similar thing with Super Mario 64.
Sure.
The first time I played Shovel Knight was in the dorm, like just trying to kill time after class, and that's a very like cool time for video games for me too. Same with Hotline Miami, same with Guacamelee. There was a very building of my reputation of games that I like time period. And Shovel Knight's the biggest part of that.
My number 5, my favorite loot grind ever, which is Destiny.
Oh, that's a really good one. That's a really good
Destiny
one.
1 and 2. I'll include both in this entry. Because the whole idea of a loot grind is, to me, inherently comforting.
Yeah.
You just, all right, well, I'm just going to go play these random things, daily tasks
that
aren't necessarily tied to like a broader narrative. It's like, okay, I have... It's sort of like your Terrarias or your Stardew Valleys where you have tasks.
Yeah.
But just apply that to a shooter.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I have these things to do today to get me a little closer to this piece of loot that I want.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily hard. If you want to throw yourself at the hard ones, by all means.
Sure.
And it's another situation where if you fail, there's not really repercussions, but feel free to give it a try. And you and our friend Andrew through tons of times like the House of Wolves and got all that loot and all that stuff.
So much Destiny 1. I kind of forget sometimes how much we played that game.
The hour mark, which I've never seen how much I've played of Destiny, would probably be like cartoonishly high.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where this was for me when I lived in a dorm my freshman year of college. I would come home and play Destiny all the time.
Yeah.
Play like 3 or 4 hours of just doing random little tasks, building up my armor, customizing my look, which I was moderately obsessed with, getting different shaders, all that sort of stuff. We've talked about how Destiny's story, especially Destiny 1, not supremely compelling. But that's not what was compelling about the game.
Right.
There are plenty of compelling things, and the grind for your loot and your guns, and getting to show those off in multiplayer and how effective they were was so much fun that I love the daily task idea. Mm-hmm. I know it kind of takes not being invested in a lot of other games at the time of release for you to be that into all of that. Luckily enough, 2014 was not the best year for games.
Right. Yeah.
And bleeding into 2015, I had gotten enough investment into Destiny. Like, yep, this is what I'm doing. So,
honestly, you talking about it made me want to do Destiny again. I kind of miss it.
I miss it, yeah.
Because,
the freaking, what was the Witch Queen?
Yeah.
I'll do it anytime.
Me too. Let's just play Destiny at some point. Because that does sound really fun. And another great thing about Destiny that is you can live in that world in so many ways.
Yeah.
Like, I love the multiplayer of Destiny because it reminds me of old school Halo multiplayer. And so, we could do all the, single day missions or whatever and be like, all right, let's do like an hour or two of multiplayer. Why
Crank
not?
Out some Crucible.
And you still get loot from it.
Yeah.
You get loot from everything. So everything feels productive. Yeah, that's a great call. And an amazing game. I know that the Destiny 2 DLC approach is doing really well for them.
Uh-huh.
I think I would mark out for Destiny 3.
Oh,
I would be so excited.
Hell yeah, I would be.
I just need another entry point. I just need let me start again. I know that there are people who invested, it's a World of Warcraft thing where people have invested so much time that they would be pissed if they had to start again. But I wouldn't be. I've spent just enough time in it that I'm like, yeah, I really want a Destiny 3.
No, I agree. And I have to think it's on the horizon.
I would hope so. I feel like they're always one DLC from being like, this is the final Destiny 2 DLC, and then we're going to get really excited. Can I have another drink, please? If there's one left, yeah. Thank you. Number 5 for me, I was thinking, I was going through in my head, I was waiting for my pickup order. I ordered picked up some groceries. And I was in the car wash too. I washed my car today. But I was thinking
I might go do that afterwards.
It's a good day to do it. I was thinking what's a game that I just always have, right? What's a game that's always installed? So my number 5 entry is Rocket League.
You'll hear about more.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can talk about it then too. But it's one of those games that is literally always on every machine I own it on. It's always installed on my hard drive. It's always installed on my PlayStation. The amount of times that you and I have been hanging out and we both have our console, it's like, we'll play some Rocket League? It's like, yes, I do. I always want to play Rocket League.
With another person online, there's no more evergreen video game experience just about.
It's so good. That may be one of the only games that I have platinumed and put probably more hours in after I platinumed than before I did.
That's a good way to put it. I don't need the trophy motivation. I just want to play the game. Mm-hmm. It's so good. And I mean, kudos to Psyonix for just making one of... When I really sit and think about it, that game should rank higher on my all-time list than it does. It's so good. And again, you made the point with Destiny of if you saw the hours you put into it, it'd probably be cartoonish. Across PC and PlayStation, I've probably put 1,000 hours into Rocket League. I play it all the time and I love it. Mm-hmm. And again, I am just one suggestion away from being like, you want to play some Rocket League? It's yes, I do. I really do. I'll circle back to it.
Okay, yeah.
Because my number 4 is Spider-Man PS4. And I'm also going to include Miles Morales.
Just to swing around?
Good thing is, these games are not particularly hard.
No.
There are hard moments. There are good boss fights.
Yeah.
But even interspliced between all of the, significant encounters, swinging around.
Yep.
Like, again, I've sung the praises of these games, and specifically that mechanic, and how excited I was just to do that when this game came out, and I was blown away by how much they nailed that specific aspect. And I said, arguably, it's better in Miles Morales. The little flourishes are more interesting.
Yeah.
The music, the sort of trap beats under the classical music as you're just popping around the city in the snow. It's just so damn cool to swing around as Spider-Man that I could not put it just for that mechanic alone somewhere on this list. And, you know, with Spider-Man 2, not imminent per se, but in the near future, there's no doubt that I'm going to, you know, get back into just doing that a whole bunch, and hopefully, you know, integrating, because it looks like Spider-Man 2 is going to integrate Peter and Miles based on the trailers. If the stylishness changes between the two of them, swinging around as both of them, maybe getting the black suit. Can't wait. So.
Dude, this topic has made me more excited to go play video games than most topics have. It's so fun to talk about. And you know, this is a great idea for a big topic too, because it's almost celebrating games that you don't always celebrate.
Sure.
Like, you know, there are games that have higher highs than some of these games, but as far as just the overall feeling of like, man, I love playing video games. This is a really good topic. So kudos to you on a really good big topic. But another great thing to do in Spider-Man Miles Morales, or any of the Spider-Mans, but especially Miles Morales, is to just put on like 90s New York hip hop and swing around. It's so fun. I can't overstate how fun that is.
Throw Illmatic on and just be like,
oh my god,
having a
dude.
blast.
It's so good. We're on number 4, right?
That was my number 4. So you're number 4.
My number 4, a game that, again, have installed mostly everywhere, mostly on PC, but I am just a suggestion away from starting a new playthrough of Don't Starve.
Yeah.
Again, I find these sort of survival games very comforting in a weird way, that you don't have to do a lot all at once. It's close to a management game, but there is a little bit more stakes than just like, you know, a farm sim or something, which, you know, some people find very comforting. They're not my kind of thing, but like, I mean like farming simulator, not like Stardew. But this is my entry for those things. Like Minecraft we talked about earlier. Don't Starve to me is, I have a little more personal connection with, even though I love Minecraft. That it's just a very, the art style is amazing. That game has aged beautifully because the art style is so unique, and similar to like a Wind Waker or something. It's because it's that hand-drawn aesthetic that it looks just really great still. Never got super into Don't Starve Together. I kind of like Don't Starve more as a single player thing. I think I would like Together if I played with a fun group. I've never really tried it too much. I just like it as sort of a, I'm going to build my farm. I'm going to try to survive as long as I can. I'm going to prepare for winter and probably die to the cold. And that's okay, because it's a great time, and the art style is beautiful to look at. And again, it's just that doing almost a minimal amount of things just to keep going one more day and get a better base and get a better farm and all that kind of stuff is my kind of thing.
If I were a little better at Don't Starve, it might be on my list, because I love Don't Starve.
It's so good.
But it ebbed a little onto the stressful side.
Sure,
for me,
it totally can, yeah.
I was never particularly good at surviving longer than a few days.
And I will say, most of my memories and what I think of Don't Starve are early Don't Starve. They've added so much to that game that it's a little overwhelming to me now, so I usually just play vanilla. Yeah. But it's still great.
My number 3, a game that was one of the first games that come to mind, definitely, when I started thinking about this, is Skyrim. Like, in terms of a game where 90% of the game is exploration, meeting odd, sort of quirky people in random places. Yeah. Like, and the element of discovery, because going back to 2011 when this game came out, I did not really understand what an open world RPG could be. And it's sort of the same sort of revelatory experience that I had with Elden Ring and discovering these new areas. Sure. That was one of my first, was like, there's a whole other town. There's a whole other... right. I don't remember what they call them in the game, but like there's the Reach, the Rift, like the different big sort of biomes, geographical areas in the game. I'm like, oh, I have a whole nother one of these that I have to explore. There's a cabin. Wonder who lives there. There's a cave. There's probably spiders in there. Let's not go in there.
How many Jarls are there?
Yeah, there's like... Well... Oh yeah, there are. There's a Jarl for every district or whatever. Just the pure exploration and sort of comical lack of stress on everybody's faces, because it was obviously a pretty early, large entry into this genre. Like, you go to talk to people and it's just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, how can I be stressed with this man in a robe just sort of staring at me with no expression on his face?
Yeah.
Even though Alduin is kind of scary. He just kind of flies around, like, he just do his thing. I'll kill him later. I got better things to do. I got mead to drink with this random eldritch god that's just posted up at this bar.
Yeah.
Like, that's just fun.
Yeah. It's great.
So yeah, the elements of discovery and minimalist gameplay make Skyrim just a very zen world to live in.
Yeah, I sing, for me, that game is Fallout 3, but like the amount of times that I've started a Skyrim playthrough is kind of nuts, of just like, I want to play like 5 hours of this game, because it's so nice to just, if you got nothing else going on, just commit a little time to Skyrim. It's so good. And I think because I really love Fallout 3 so much, I think I understate sometimes how much I really like Skyrim. Like, I'm not a huge fantasy guy, but that game made me really like that world.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games that every now and then I think, like, should I start a Skyrim playthrough? It's like, nah, I have too much to play.
If they remade that, whew, I'd
like, from the ground up.
I'd be dropping some cash.
All right, number 3, we teased it earlier. It's Peggle.
Yep.
Maybe my ultimate just. I got nothing to do. I'm gonna play Peggle. Yeah. Especially because Peggle 2 I think is the best version of Peggle. I don't know if there is a game announcement that is not gonna happen that would excite me more than Peggle 3. That's kind of sad, but I don't care. It's amazing. The original trophy hunt for that game, getting that platinum, is one of the most fun trophy experiences I've ever had. Especially because that, again, a lot of it's tied to nostalgia comfort. But that was when I was in the dorm, and Andrew and I would literally, who we mentioned earlier when we talked about Destiny. He and I would pass the controller trying to beat the levels or get the score or whatever. Experiences like that are so awesome. Mm-hmm. But, I've been a fan of Peggle since I was a kid. Like, my first real experiences with PC gaming were things like Medal of Honor and, like, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory and shit like that. But after that, and when I was, like, playing my own games as opposed to playing a round of a multiplayer or something, I was, like, 9, 10, was your PopCap games, which I talked about earlier a little bit. Like Bejeweled, Zuma, those all have a special place in my heart. But I was always a Peggle guy. Between Peggle Knights, Peggle Deluxe, like there are more games that people... Peggle World of Warcraft, that's a thing. Don't know why. But Peggle 2, I think, is still the one that I would come back to. And just something about the pachinko gameplay... And it's so low stakes, but just enough of an intriguing skill-based thing, especially when you pull in all the different masters. I think they're what they're called, the people with all the different traits. It's just it's awesome. I love Peggle.
We're a Peggle household.
We are, yeah.
My number 2 is Rocket League.
Yeah.
That we sort of stated earlier. Again, a gameplay-centric game that you can kind of toot out of, you can throw a podcast on.
Yep.
And whether you choose to play online, which is predominantly what I do these days.
Yeah, same here.
My main thing these days is throw on a podcast and go 1v1 people.
Dude, 1v1 is fun in that game.
It is so fun.
Yeah.
To me, I like the 1v1 because I'm just not having to think about, in an online format where I'm not communicating really with my teammates.
Right.
I don't really want to be thinking about what they're doing.
Yeah, trying to predict their stuff.
And it's such a good skill check, especially like you can do it in the ranked format or you can do it unranked, which is so low stakes and chill and fun. And I kind of crush most people in the unranked.
Yeah.
But then I go into ranked and then it becomes a lot more challenging.
Yes.
But messing people up in that, throwing on a podcast, bouncing around, just like, not gonna lie, love making people forfeit. One of the most satisfying things
it is,
in games. And
running up the scoreboard.
Yeah, and in the unranked, it happens a lot because people don't really care. It doesn't tank your ranking overall or anything. Sure. But in any regard, like I'm not like overly concerned about my ranking, so I don't care to hop into ranked mode whether I win or whether I lose. It's just a fun sort of let's see how good I can do situation.
Right.
And to be in a game like that is so skill based, but not being overly concerned about how good you are. Let's just do it and see where we end up.
Yeah.
It's just very fun.
It's so good. In
terms of raw gameplay, one of the most innovative and unique games ever made.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is much of an overstatement.
No. Something I just thought of too. we talk about all the time. I think, at least for me, yours might differ. I think if I had to pick like a moment in time in a game I was purely best at from a multiplayer standpoint, it's probably The Last of Us. But number 2 for me was when I was doing a lot of Rocket League, especially on PC, and I was decent at Rocket League for a long time, like could kind of hold my own, and then I started doing 1v1s, and I got so much better. It's crazy. And like, just that's a game where there's always, we talk about how fun the gameplay is, but I think at least I need some sort of carrot dangling in front of me just a little bit.
Yeah.
And the carrot there isn't even like something you unlock. It's just getting a tiny bit better.
Yeah.
And like being able to do a little bit more on the court, or be a little more versatile, or be a better teammate, or whatever.
It feels like a real sport.
Yeah, it does.
Like it feels like you're actively getting better at a real sport, and that is the reward.
Yes.
You're right.
Like, I think, as much as I love, and we'll talk about them in a second. Actually, I think it's my next entry, so we can talk about it now. But like, as much as I love sports games, I think no sports game feels as much like playing an actual sport as Rocket League does. Like, Rocket League feels like that is the truest definition of an esport to me.
Yep.
Because it is, and like the only esport I've ever watched full like tournaments of is Rocket League.
Yeah.
Because when you see people who are really skilled at that game, it is like watching
so
professional
impressive.
athletes. It's insane. And we are just beaming talking about it. That's how great that game is. Number 2 for me, sort of a broad one, but I'll narrow it down. Most NBA games, whether it's 2K, like 2K22, which was my most played game of last year, or 2K14, one of my most played games ever, again in the dorm, or even more likely, as far as a comforting thing, I'm going to boot up a new playthrough of NBA Street, and I'm going to do pretty much all of it, because those games are pretty short, doing like, or as much as I can of like the rec league kind of stuff. Or even going back even further, one of the other games I played on the way back was NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Because I love basketball, and that's a big part of it. But I love the way NBA games play. I really like arcadey NBA games. Even something like the newer 2K ones, there are so many different modes you can explore, playing against a computer, playing online. I'm not a huge online guy in basketball games, because I don't... With 2K now, it's a lot of people just like dribbling around and then shooting a 3, and that's not super fun for me. And like computer is a little bit more strategic, I guess. But with like the My Team stuff, you can unlock cards that unlock better players, and there's always that carrot dangling in front of you. But each experience is so low stakes. And then NBA Street is just super fun and arcadey. Same for NBA Jam. It's similar to your golf thing, where it's like, basketball is probably my favorite sport to play. And like, I love watching football, and Madden's up there too, but I definitely like playing NBA games more than football games. And it's something I've been playing since I was a kid, and will probably play in perpetuity forever, because I just love the experience of a good basketball game.
Every few years or every couple of years, it's just like, let's get the new one. Let's go back in. So my number 1.
All right.
Was one of your honorable mentions.
Oh.
Pokemon Gen 1 through 4.
Yeah, dude.
And that's where I've narrowed it down to, because I've played Black and White, I've played X and Y, I've played Sun and Moon. I've played one of each of these gen entries, whichever.
Yeah.
I haven't gone further than that. That's as new as I've gotten. And I love Pokemon, but I have not played the most recent, because there was a point at which I was like, okay, they're introducing some new mechanics. Like, things are not what I remember them to be. And what I remember them to be are these 4 generations.
Yeah.
Namely, you mentioned Fire Red.
Yeah.
Fire Red, Ruby and Sapphire, Emerald. To this day, I have never played the Crystal or Gold and Silver, and I want to, and I probably will.
Heart Gold is so good.
Yeah, if it didn't cost $250 at the resale store, I'd go buy it right now.
You have a PC, I'll hook you up.
That's true. I will do it that way.
Yeah.
But there was, when I was thinking of comfort games, there was no more specific moment that rang true than that little chiptune walking through a route.
Yeah.
Like Route 2 in Fire Red or whatever. And it's just like, whatever. And just exploring and going through the grass, having random battles that, Pokemon is not particularly difficult if you know anything about what's going on.
Right. It's rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. And, having not that much strategy involved in being able to win battles, but the creation of your team is so interesting, and it's always unique.
Yep.
I've never probably had the same team twice.
Yep.
And yeah, just the exploration. Oh, I'm coming up on a new gym. What's it going to be like? Coming up on a new town, It's weird to me to feel like I have the same level of explorative discovery, enchantment that I have in these big 3D games.
Yeah.
In a 2D game.
Yeah.
But growing up, that is what I had in these Pokemon games. And to this day, I'm excited. If I wanted to drag my Switch back out, I would be so excited for Violet and Scarlet because I just want that experience again. But I don't think there's anything wrong with going back and having these wholly unique experiences through each gameplay, trial every time. So my eternal love lies with the Pokemon series, and I'm excited. I'm a little annoyed that my nephews like the cards more than the games.
Oh, interesting.
A little bit. And honestly, they're just like, how much is this card worth?
Oh, yeah.
They ask me that question a lot. I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. Here's
Let's
the
play
cartridge.
the video game.
Put it in your game thing, and let's play it.
Yeah.
But, my undying love for the series.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that, because like you said, Sword and Shield were fine.
Yeah.
They weren't Pokemon to me.
Sure.
And I hope that the new ones are a little more return to form. But honestly, you may really love, and I've only scratched the surface with it, but Pokemon Unbound.
I was thinking
you
about
may
it.
love the ROM hack side, because that is basically just a new story and a new gameplay system, but in the Fire Red engine.
Yeah.
So it's all just I'm not a huge ROM hack guy, but I think the two franchises that people always sing the praises of with ROM hacks are Mario games and Pokemon games. Because it's more of the same, just new levels and new ideas and all that. And Unbound is really, really good from what I've played only about an hour, but I do want to play more of it. My number one, probably the franchise if I had to bet that I've spent the most hours in, Civilization. Civilization 5, Civ 6, whatever. Going back in the day, Civ 4 and Civ 3. I've probably played all of the Civs except for maybe Civ 1. But again, talking about earlier, my first entry into PC gaming, was the Medal of Honor games, was Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, but the first game I really remember playing was Civ 2.
Sure.
I love the Civ games. I'm not a huge turn-based strategy guy, but the whole world history appeal of Civ is so massive.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those games, right, where you're talking about with Destiny or with some of the other games we've mentioned, you can just kind of throw yourself at it 100 times. Civ, and Don't Starve, and a lot of the other games, it's basically just your playthrough is a couple sittings. But you can keep playing through it and try new strategies and try new ideas. It's, it's probably the closest to video game chess, but just on a large scale, or one of the closest things that I've played. And you can always try a new leader, and you can always try a new strategy, or maybe, try a new difficulty or whatever. But I forget sometimes how much I love Civ until there's a day where I really want to play Civ, and then I lose 10 hours.
Yeah.
It's just one of those games that you're just like, I'll play another day, why not? And then you're like, oh my God, I need to eat. It's one of those games, and I will always have a rich love of Civ because of the amount of time I've always put into it.
Yeah. I respect the hell out of Civ. I've played it a smidge. I feel like there might be one day in the future where it just cracks open for me. But, so again, it's one of those, it's on sort of my periphery at all times.
Sure.
One of these days, who knows? Maybe you'll never see me again.
You'll just stay inside.
Well, that is it for our lists of our most comforting games.
Yeah, that was
so
great.
If you're in need of some comfort, maybe this sparked a little bit of inspiration. Tanner, do you have a recommendation for this week?
I was just going to say,
Rick.
Tell us what your most comforting games are, because I would actually love to see what people's are.
That's our recommendation to you.
No, but my recommendation. We've talked about a lot of games today.
We have. Mine is not. We're going again. Very tertiary.
Oh
here
no.
for me.
Okay. I think I can now. I think one of my recommends. I think maybe last official episode, because we didn't do Rex at the end of the Xbox thing.
Right.
Was that you shouldn't buy a game until the PlayStation Plus comes out. I can officially recommend PlayStation Plus, the new version now.
I thought about this actually.
Because I looked at the catalog, and it's interesting because you and I are invested enough into PlayStation that we have played most of the big titles there. So, games like Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War, those are amazing games, Bloodborne, but we've already played them. I was really curious where my downloads were going to fall. And my downloads are almost exclusively in the middle ground.
Yeah.
It's like indies or maybe like a Trials game I didn't play because they got the Ubisoft thing. I really want Immortals Phoenix Rising to come to Plus, and it's not yet. I want that game on there so bad because I don't want to buy it, but I want to play it. Like, you know, there's so many smaller experiences. The Messenger, what's it called? It's not Bloodstained. Is that what it's called?
That is a game.
The Castlevania, Bloodstained Curse of the Night.
Yeah.
Like those, Sundered is on there now. Like there's Blasphemous. Those kinds of games that I've always wanted to try, but you know, you don't want to spend $20 on every game. Those are now the games that I can play. Similar to Game Pass, actually. Outside of like Halo and Forza, most of my Game Pass plays are smaller games, and it's got that same appeal to me. Now, I'm curious if they'll support it as long as Game Pass has supported, or Xbox has supported Game Pass. But for right now, there's a plethora of games I want to try and can officially recommend going for it now.
I was excited to see that I technically have premium paid up through next March. So
yeah, I have it till 2024. I'm like, let's go.
My recommendation circles back to the very beginning, and I love a good loop.
Okay.
You know?
Close it off.
Yeah. Because I talked about the heat wave that was going on and how
dramatic drink.
I like this beverage because it's so hot in our neck of the woods right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm playing... Here's the only way that I'm going to be able to relate this to games.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm playing games and it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, my hands, they get a little sweaty.
Okay.
So I need to stay cool.
Right.
So my recommendation is evaporative cooling units.
What?
These are like little tabletop air conditioners. And the way they work is basically they blow air at you and they evaporate. You pour water into them.
Yeah.
And then they
like a dehumidifier.
Or, kinda.
Yeah.
And they sort of blow air and it cools as the evaporation happens.
Sure.
So for my birthday, which was a couple weeks ago, my parents were like, hey, I was playing golf with my dad that day. He's like, why don't I get you a new pair of golf shoes and stuff? And like,
actually, wait, real golf or everybody's golf?
Real golf.
I knew. It was fun.
My dad doesn't even know what everybody's golf is. Yeah. And he's like, yeah,
he thinks all golf
here's
is
your new golf
golf
shoes. I'll get you a sweatshirt too. I thought that was my birthday present.
Okay.
I have a little birthday gathering with my family.
Yeah.
And there's a box and it has pink unicorn wrapping paper.
Hell yeah.
That's it. And I was like, I thought I already got a birthday present.
Yeah.
And it was one of these.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is just funny because they know that I'm like, I need it to be cold.
Yeah, you're hot natured.
I'm very hot natured.
Me too.
So I was like, okay, cool. But then I set it up the other night. I was going double air conditioner in my room. I've got a window unit and I've got that thing.
Wow.
And boy, howdy, where my recliner is in my room where I play games, much better airflow with the addition of this thing.
This is one of the most bizarre recommendations I've ever heard.
Look, all I've been playing is everybody's golf, and I already recommended it. I couldn't think of anything else, so I had to go deep down the well for that one.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
what brand is it?
I don't know. All I know is what it is. And it is an evaporative cooling unit. There are multiple brands out there. Feel free to explore if you need a relatively low-cost way to cool about a 4x4 foot space, because they're only like this big. But in addition to a real air conditioner, it helps.
So our recommends are PlayStation Plus and whatever this fucking
and
thing
an air
is
conditioner,
called.
kinda. Not technically an air conditioner, but it's an evaporative cooling miniature AC unit.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It also has like RGB lights on it, which is kind of cool.
Oh, cool. It's a gamer thing.
There you go.
Gamer cooling.
That's what you need. Gamer cooling. Get you a little mini evaporative cooling unit.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
That
dude.
is funny, you know. All right. So,
if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the laugh.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So a lot of news. Summer Games Fest going on. Maybe got a direct coming up.
Yeah, who knows?
We'll catch you with all the news from that going forward. But until then, we're tapping out.